Okay, ladies and gentlemen, David Charman.
Hello and welcome. And my talk today is a mess as usual.
Can I just ask you to move your microphone to a bit more away from your mouth?
You can hear me snoring between breaths, can you? How's that? Better?
Yes.
No, you see? It's just a rusky voice, that's what it is. How about there? And I think that did it. Yeah, excellent. Yes, I thought I was going to do a 3-hour talk when they asked me to do a talk, so I put lots and lots of slides on the stick. And I even put a bit about me, which is very boring. But my background is a little bit different to other people who are in this line of investigation, shall we say. I'm still hiccuping, aren't I? Is that better?
Just try to turn this down.
Oh, is that? Yeah. Yes. I've tried that. Yeah. I went the right colour.
Okay, try that.
Yeah. Hello? Still hear me? Yeah. Good. I have exactly the same problem with the Sussex Dales, this PA system. Never seems to want to work. So, energy viewing. The picture on the left is the kind of mess that we make of ourselves in our energy, and the picture on the right is how we kind of want to aim to be this beautiful blue and in harmony. And the apology down the bottom, that picture came from a talk about chakras, but I might get to that, and I might decide not to upset you all with that one. But me, the Charman name comes from the Sussex charcoal burners. I'm not a shaman or a shaman or anything else. It's just a Sussex name. That's family. Mum, Dad, 2 older sisters, 2 younger brothers. I'm a little dog. Looks a bit like Hugo, actually. Went to school, as you do. I was average, good at sports, not so much good at anything else, really. Apprenticeship in boat building. We built and when I left school, I got an apprenticeship in boat building at William Osborne's at Littlehampton. I think we built the last one of that type, and the first one of that type, and the first one of the Atlantic 21s. And then I decided to do something completely different. And had a milk round for a couple of years. Then I met someone who was working on the Marqués. So I went out to Spain and worked on the square rig ships. The one on the left was, as the picture is up on the top left, when we got it, it was a floating scrapyard in Malaga Harbour. We turned it into the ship on the bottom left. But since then, the captain sunk both of them. But then, while I was there, I met my first wife. We moved up to London, and it was in this street. We had a flat, and I was working in the houses, converting all the flats into, or the bed sits into flats. We decided to get married. Moved to Cornwall. Let's get married and have kids, I said. 120 kids later, I realised I'd been duped. Right? So I moved home to Mum, who wasn't impressed. Then I got into bathroom, kitchens and bedroom fitting. That's where I met Tess, my wife now. Didn't actually meet inside that tree, but I'm sure she's a bit elven and ought to live in one. Then we had Matthew. He grew up to that. And about that age, I discovered that I had a bit of an issue with a bad back, and went to a Tai Chi class. And in the middle of, we both started martial arts, in fact. we didn't dress up like that, but he went into karate, but I went into Tai Chi. And in the middle of a Tai Chi class, hands back to back with my opponents, I was supposed to anticipate him hitting me, as you do in martial arts. I closed my eyes because I had contact, didn't need to see him, and saw that. It was a little bit blurrier than that, but I was actually looking inside of him at his heart. And I froze. I don't know why, just a strange reaction really, and got punched, because that's what he was supposed to be doing. It took me a lot of practice to be able to get back into being able to view that type of thing. One of the things I learnt very early on is the screen in the background should be that sort of colour. It's grainy, and I can't say with absolute certainty, but I believe that it's grainy because it's sound. So there's no way of proving it as yet until they develop sophisticated enough technology to be able to detect infrasound coming from the body. But other experiments with tuning forks and crystal bowls and alike, I can see those as well. So I'm assuming that the energy that I see inside of a person is the sound of a person. Am I in the video there, all right? Ah, shame, okay. Now when you close your eyes, people quite often say to me, oh, I can't see anything. It's just black. But it's quite often not black. I mean, oh, that's sparkling. Okay, shouldn't be. This is blue with black on it. So if you ever try energy viewing and you've shut your eyes and you've let the feeling of your eyes drift up into your forehead and you look out of there, and I say it quickly, but you can't always do it that quickly. There's definite difference between the black and the blue. But if you can see something else on that, or if you can actually see black, black tends to be a lack of energy or a lack of sound in the area. That typically is a point in the body that is actually healing itself. The body knows there's a problem, so it has created, again I believe, but science bears it out somewhat, that the electrical charge has increased to that area of the body. So it's 1.5 times the voltage. So you get a higher frequency, so you get a higher colour. And if you're doing energy work and you've got some sort of damage in the body, because you're kind of looking inside of a body and you have control over it, you have control over your own energy, and you just encourage it to change from whatever colour it is. If it's not dark blue, it's a problem basically, so you want to change it from that colour to electric blue, especially if you've got a broken bone or bruises, something with damage. Increase the electrical charge to it and it really does heal much quicker. I mean, it's not miracle stuff, not quite, but it does heal much quicker. That's typically what a headache would look like. The headaches don't tend to be in one specific area of the head. You know, you might get a headache here or a headache there. Or if it's a migraine, it'll be a magenta colour and, yes, a lot more of the head. Orange is pain, but it's just a frequency. It's a sound, which makes you feel like it's pain. And it's tends to be that colour. And the brighter the orange, the more painful. And you can experiment with that if you like, but it's best to look at other people's pains because, you know. Typical, you've stressed yourself out. Where do you carry that stress? Yeah. So if you're looking at someone, you see that across their shoulders, they've done that to themselves. And if it goes any higher, you might get ringing in your ears and a tinnitus because you can actually then hear it. Yeah, a mismatch of slides. But that is typically a broken bone, brilliant yellow. Broken bone or torn tissue. And it's not just me that sees this. If I had all of you look at something that is broken, provided all your energies weren't in the same place, making it a wonderful colour, if you were just looking at that particular energy, you'd all see the same thing. Sinus, really bad sinus issue. So quite often it's just a brownish haze around the sinus area, but that's got into the bone. Can you see that all right there? Yeah, cool. Irritable bowel. So you get a spatial awareness of where the problems are. So you can see that's kind of lower down. I haven't worried about the legs. But that is the typical kind of irritable bowel disturbance colour. Here we have a full person. Okay, so up the top, they've got a headache, then they've got irritable bowel, then they've got a broken wrist, and then they've got a problem with the knee. You wouldn't actually see the person unless the whole person is in disharmony. All that is in harmony disappears into the background energy, the God energy or the force or whichever name you like to put to it. You should be the same colour as that background energy, provided the background is the right colour, of course, and not in the middle of an energy line. But the kind of God energy is that indigo, and that's why there's no body shown there, just the disturbances, and that's really all that you see with energy viewing. Going a bit further on, so I suspect most of you have done with the dowsing, the dowsing of the aura and getting the layers. My experience of it is you have these layers. You also have possibly the most important aspect of your energy field is the energy line that comes down through the body, through the crown, out into earth, or from the earth back up through. Yes? And we talk about blockages. That energy feed is really important, and so number 8 up there is it's like a little cloud perched up there of ugly coloured energy. But most likely it's your emotions or, well, that's just kind of the spiritual point. So if you're having mismatched spiritual kind of arguments with yourself, you store a little blob up there. Coming down, trauma. If anybody's really suffered some bad trauma, the worst one I saw was a lady who had she had witnessed the tsunami, the first recent big one, and lots of people were washed away by the tsunami in front of her, and she had this massive blob of energy perched above her head. I tuned into it, and it brought me to tears. There was someone else with us at the Sussex Dowsers in the hall. He was passing. He said, "You all right, David?" Tears rolling down the side of my eye. I said, "No, do you want to share this with me?" And he tuned into it because I taught him how to energy view. And he went, "Oh, thanks for that." But we managed to change it. She wasn't in a place where she could change her own energy, but it really is easy to change energy. Getting it to stay changed, whole different challenge. So you've got trauma, then beliefs just above the head, stress across your shoulders, issues of the heart, solar plexus, personal power. Where the energy line coming down through the body goes through these layers of the aura, those emotions tend to be stored. Right. Oh, and underneath the feet as well. So if you've ever done, thinking that you've done above the head, you've finished, now get to lie on a couch and you might find something a few feet under the feet, because you can store stuff down there as well. Have I missed a load out of that? Any questions on that? Oh, okay. So you've got the different colours in the body. Science gave me this. This is not a me thing. Musical notes and their colours. So you can see all the colours have a musical note, or the musical notes refers to a colour, which is again why I'm saying that the what I'm looking at is sound.
Oh, sorry, can you just...
What, you wanted a photograph?
Yeah.
Of that? Okay. I understand. Yeah. You can always email me and I'll send you copies of these if you... This is my recordings. Sorry, I'm slipping down my ear. So this is just the kind of, mostly the physical stuff. So if you see black, it's a lack of energy. Light brown's decay. Darker brown is heavy decay. Mustard, that's your normal sign of sinus, irritable bowel, which things are just starting to go rotten, really, as they do. Yellow, broken bone, torn tissue. Orange is always pain. Magenta, migraines. Purple, cold spots. Like tennis elbow, frozen shoulder. Blue, I say it's about communication, but we also go into emotions. So if you're looking at the energy outside of a person, because you don't have to go inside, you can get a fix on somebody, put your hands on their head and kind of get a fix on them and then move out and away. Then with a bit of practice, the whole aura comes in to play. And you can see the little clouds stored outside of the body, which can be just as troublesome because they can feed back in and cause all sorts of problems. Electric blue, self-repair. Dull sticky red. Say information, that normally goes with, am I allowed to say things like technical terms from medical stuff? Like arthritis? No, I'm not. Okay, I won't say it. You have to be careful with this because it's diagnostic. Unless you're medically trained, you are not allowed to say, oh, you've got cancer, or you've got arthritis, or you've got this, or you've got that. You just have to stick with the colours. But really, all you need to do is to change the colours back to the harmony, and these problems can disappear. Salmon pink was a rare one. That was in this bone here, and the chap had a problem with his blood. And I've included it, although I've only seen it once. It's such a beautiful colour, and you know, you kind of look inside of animals or people or trees and think, oh, that's a beautiful colour. Let's encourage that to grow. Yeah, it was killing him. Light green. If you're working with trees, you look inside of trees. You know, you don't need to hug them. You don't need to embarrass yourself. You can't just casually lean on one, and you can take that screen out of that meridian into the tree, and you can see the energy inside of a tree. During the summer, with the deciduous trees, or in the spring especially, you see a flow of energy going upwards. In the autumn, you might see it coming back down again. In the middle of the summer, it's not so fast. The dark green is the normal kind of colour for your tree. The evergreens, they tend to stay more or less that colour most of the year round. Indigo is harmony. White, yes, some people, when they shut their eyes, instead of just kind of shifting their vision up to their forehead, they go, whoa, and they look out the top of their head and see white, but you've got to kind of back down. I believe it's to do with angelic stuff, but don't really know. But if you're looking inside of a person, it's usually a problem with bones, the lack of minerals or what have you in a bone, especially in growing young people who have put on a growth spurt and they're suddenly kind of walking like that because they haven't got the coordination with the new growth in the bone yet. And you look inside and you'll kind of see the bone. Otherwise, 6 weeks later, when they've caught up and they've been eating the right minerals and vitamins, and that deficiency has been overcome, you won't be able to see it. Another list from elsewhere. There's quite a few of these. One or two of them are back to front, which I find really odd, but this is the only one that seems to relates to what can be seen. So you can look at the clouds outside of somebody, and you can then kind of use the emotional diagnostic chart as well. They're hard work, getting people through their emotions. I say, okay, you can change the energy. That's quite simple. Get your pendulum out, magic wand, you know, whichever you use. Just hands, feel it change. But unless you stop them producing that energy that they've been producing, if they're still going through the same emotion the next day and the day after, it'll come back. Does. So, you know, counselling comes into it, and all sorts. These are anomalies, kind of. One of the things, if you start looking at a person around their forehead, you might see one of these. So you've got the eye, which is an interlinked orbs, or the triangle. There are others, but these are the most common. So if I was to come round and just view out here, just past your forehead, and see one of those, if you've got a triangle, I can pretty well guarantee that you've been having some sort of out-of-body experiences, or you're going out travelling. The stronger it looks, the more it's being used. And the eye means that you're kind of hardwired to be a medium. And again, it's lots of people sitting down in front of me, and I just look. The first time I saw an eye staring back at me, this lady was such a powerful medium that it was, and I nearly wet myself. Yeah. Yes. But they're there to be seen. So you can sit down with someone and tell them. I usually get people that are experiencing problems because of them, not because they've learnt how to use them. So they're experiencing out-of-body experiences at night of visiting people, and they're kind of getting tired and fed up, or hearing voices because they're mediums. So total strangers just sit down in front of me, and I'll kind of scan them and I say, oh, you've been doing this, or you have that kind of problem, and it's just confirmed time after time after time. Now then, once you've got the hang of that and that screen, another technique is to find that screen and then to slowly open your eyes. Dim lighting, right? So you're working visible light and the sound together, and then you start seeing more of the aura, and I practice a lot of this at going to funerals and things, you know, or train stations where people are sitting like, oh yeah. And you see all kinds of oddities. The top left one, we've got a pointer here, haven't we, somewhere? Which is the pointer? Not that one. Okay. I won't bother about that. So top left, the ball of energy around his head. Billy Gorn, I was at a workshop of his, and we kind of got working together, and he was muscle testing people over a waterline, so backing them over a waterline, muscle testing. It didn't work on me. He couldn't understand why. We kind of figured it out. I said, well, we can get anybody to do that. This was over at the pub at half time. So on the way back, I just picked up a stone off the... I said, tell everybody that you're going to muscle test this afternoon, that this is the superpowered stone, that has been charged to protect them from anything. Right? Because it was coming from him, and he was a famous and recognised dowser. He decided to play the game, and he tried that, and it did. Everybody who held the stone after that, muscle testing, didn't affect them. But we both knew that they had put a little bubble around their head, protecting their head. Never mind the rest of the body. Yeah, I'm going to protect my brain. The rest of my body can go to hell, kind of thing. So that's a bit of an oddity. No, I can't even remember what that red blob is around his hand. So we won't worry about that. But then you've got these different blobs, and that one's normal. Little squiggles of sound running through the body. Irritable bowel, top right. That was purely emotional, top left. I was challenged to figure out what was wrong with the lady. So I sat down, had a look, and I could see that spiralling up through her body, coming to a point there. And I said, well, I haven't been told anything. You know, she just says, I've got a problem, I'm having it tested. That was all the information I was given. So when I said to her, well, you've got an energy spike coming up to here. If it's not causing a problem, it will do if you leave this mess unaddressed. And she nearly fell off the chair and then told me about the lump that she had there, and she was about to have a biopsy. But it wasn't cancerous, it was just starting to grow. But it was all about an issue with her father, who had never fulfilled the role that she expected him to fulfill as a father, and so it was giving her all sorts of emotionals. Bottom left, done it a couple of times, cardiomyopathy, lack of energy to the heart. Bottom right, stress, and then stress gone up to the point where it was making someone's ears ring. Yeah, top left, another travel app, just a bigger one. The bigger they get, the more fun they've been having with it, or the more issues they've got with it. Top right, past lives, stored, little around the body. I've never really got into reading them, but that was my son thing. He could kind of look into them and say, oh, you've been a worm. Or a dog, or a fish, or a horse, or a person, you know. Bottom left, sometimes you get kind of like lightning strikes coming in. Whys and wherefores, I'm not sure. And then very occasionally, all right, now this is 99% of the time I look at someone's energy and I don't see these, but you can get little elementals or spirits or kind of whatever you like to call them, little energy hangers-on, easy enough to get rid of. You just have to let that energy flow, and then anything that's kind of got in there kicks out with it. And the bottom right, a football trainer fell over one of the lads we were teaching, training football. The little lad was this big and the trainer was that big, and he took a dive rather than flatten him and broke his wrist. And he came over and said, oh, I've hurt my hand here. I said, no, you've broken your wrist there. Because he had this little spiralling vortex come out of it. A grey kind of... He could see it because he tried to brush it away. And I looked inside and I could see this brilliant yellow flash, and I shouted to my son, Matt, come and have a look at this. Right? So I'm very sympathetic. And he looked and he said, oh, that's bright. I said, yeah, it's broken. So we sent him to the hospital, x-rayed, broken, came back in a cast. Yes. Rarely have I got to that frequency where I can see these. People's energetic wings. And they vary. And it doesn't really matter whether they look like dragon wings or angel's wings. Doesn't it? It gives you an indication of where people are set. But you have to be of a high enough frequency to be able to just accept it and cope with it, which is possibly why I don't always get there. Again, yeah, another bottom left little travel app. And then the mediumship app, someone who died 3 times clinically in a hospital, came back. He could kind of see spirits as if they were real people. He got confused sometimes, but when I looked, that app was that size on him. Connections to other people, top 2, good, bad, feeling the weight of the world over you, or carrying the weight of the world over your shoulder, all emotional stuff. Top left, literally beside himself. He was. His wife, who it was my gran, she had died, they'd been looking after her. It was Peter's mum. And his wife was floods of tears, no real energy to show because she had let it go. She had vented it, she'd let it out with tears and screams. And he was holding it all in and was beside himself. So all of these kind of old terms, well, not all of them, but quite often they have a place in the energy system. Top right, somebody was on speed. Bottom left, speed. Speed, no, mead doesn't do that. I would suffer that one if it was mead. Yeah, no, it was someone doing a show. She was up on stage and I thought, oh my goodness. And another time it was one of my martial art instructors. He came and his class was so fast, I thought, oh. He'd have taken a couple of speed tablets to get him through the class. That's not right. Yeah, bottom left, an issue with the spine. And that's the only time you get kind of spiralling vortexes like that, is when there's an issue. That bit of the body isn't producing that bit of energy, or it's blocking it somehow. Bottom right, some of these funny little things that sometimes creep into the system. So leaving people behind. If you find an energy line, any energy, earth energies people here? Yeah, oh well, yes, of course, yes, Chris. If you find yourself an energy line, you know, you have to have the best dowsing rod in the world, of course. This is Hissing Sid, those who haven't met him, right? So you find an energy line, and it runs down there. Doesn't really, but I'm just demonstrating. Then if you step into it, doesn't matter which way it's going, and you shut your eyes, get that screen, and look down the energy line with the intention of seeing the energy. You'll get a tube within a tube, or just a tube, or sometimes it's a tube in a tube in a tube in a tube. Again, I am assuming that they are sound because I can see them. Well, actually, not all of them. Maeve, we were talking about ripples on a pond. When I dowsed this, it was like ripples on a pond, but in reality, that's the energy from either falling water or rising water. There may have been a dome to that as well, but every time I just doused it, it was ripples on a pond, the concentric circles as you're going. You know, you get a hit and then another hit, but that would go all the way around. With energy viewing, you get you get a three-dimensional rather than the two-dimensional and in colour. And how am I doing for time? So we got, my son and I, we got into looking at maps, and this was the first one we did in 2002. This is the cricket pitch up the road. Matt just used to be able to get a plan or a map or a piece of paper with a kind of detail sketched into it. Didn't really matter. And he just used to be able to draw them in. And the amount of times I took the Sussex Dowsing Society to check them out before I really kind of fully appreciated his ability, all proven. But the most interesting one, I don't know where that is, most interesting one is, see these little rings or these spirals going around in a circle, around a circle. Yeah, can you see where I'm pointing? I'll try that button. Yeah, there. Okay. So that is a mushroom ring, fairy ring. Nothing much to do with earth energies as such, yet when we looked at it, it was like fairies dancing around from mushroom to mushroom. Little spiralling vortexes of energy spiralling on the top of the mushroom and then jumping to the next one and going round in a circle. There was also a ball of energy about this far off the ground in a kind of goldy colour in the middle. And it took me a long time to figure out why that happened, because it wasn't there when the mushrooms weren't there, and there was no kind of real energy lines or other things there when they weren't there. But then I kind of realised that mushrooms, they have all these little fins underneath, and if you get a breeze across them, they're all going to resonate. And they're going to give you a sound. And sound does that sort of thing. If you look into cymatics and study of that, sound does all sorts of amazing stuff. I just went to the gong bath. That was wonderful. Houses. So I've got about 50 of these different houses. One of the things I don't really understand about house energy work, you'll have to excuse me for this, it's kind of my process where if you want to tell me off afterwards, please do. But people talk about electric interference. If you turn off the electricity, you don't get it. If you turn on the electricity, you have it. So I'm not sure how anybody actually gets rid of it, other than turning off the electricity, because as soon as you do, electricity is a vibration. It doesn't actually travel inside the wire, it travels outside the wire. Science tells me these days, and it radiates out about 3 feet from the cables, so if it's turned on, it's going to be there. Right. I haven't discussed magnetic lines, but they go north to south and they tend to be electric blue. And if you research magnets, that's all you get. A continuous loop, north-south. And if I look at a magnet, I get an electric blue haze. If I look at electric cable, these pylons, I'll see an electric blue spiralling around the outside of it. But these aren't those. These are sound lines or water lines. Now water lines tend to create or give off, I can't remember whether it is a negatively charged ion or a positively charged ion on the surface, which is what some people react to when they're dowsing. But the water running underneath the ground also gives off a sound. Now, if I was viewing a water line, I end up under the ground, because I can see the water channeling through spiralling down through it. And once or twice the water has fallen into a chamber, and the sound of the water splashing around in the chamber gives me an image of the inside of the chamber. So I thought, well, this isn't above the ground, so I'm gone underground. Not even intentionally, just asked to see the water line or the line. And I've ended up there. So you get infrasound from underground water, which can be very disrupting. But most of these are sound lines. difficult to move the water away from the house. I know people say they can do it by banging stakes into the ground. That might interfere with the sound from them, but moving the water, yeah, maybe not. And then you get these other oddities. Someone was asking me earlier about portals. What have we got? That one, triangle within a triangle within a triangle, but it's actually a pyramid. They tend to be portals where you get problems. So you have to remember that people send me these things because they have problems with their houses, so I've got a disproportionate representation of house problems within these pictures. Most of you won't suffer these at all, but wherever we've seen that, people have said, well, we're seeing spirits. The other one is quite often where people kind of do meditation or mediumship work. They kind of sit and do that type of thing. Quite often see little green spirals. And every time I've seen one of those, like I say, the people send me these maps, or used to, we don't do it anymore. They send us the maps with no information. That was our rule. We didn't want to know what they thought about it. We wanted... Okay, I've got to speed up. And every time we saw a little green spiral, I would phone them back and report what we found and say, this is where you sit and do your artwork, and always confirmed. We could even tell where teenagers used to sit, surprisingly.
David, got 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't go on through those. Pretty picture of the wood. This is one of the energy lines or two of the energy lines I've been studying. So with energy viewing, there's a post just off this picture, like a wire, because I'm from Sussex, see, and I sit and I look at that, shut my eyes, same spot every time, and sometimes I will see that. Now, you'll have to excuse that. That's not anymore. There's a water line or water runoff line. So it's rainwater running off, not far under the surface, which gives me this kind of blurry line. It drops down a hole, which gives me this yellowish spiralling vortex look. The energy line moves up and down the hill. When it moves up the hill and hits that spot, I don't know whether you can see that. No, it's not coming out very well, is it? Poor picture. 5 demerits. It kicks up this energy that comes up here, and then there's a ball of energy up there, but the column goes on up. So that's when this energy hits this one, or specifically that spiralling vortex dropping down a hole. When that energy line moves away down the hill, that anomaly disappears, except for the little plug hole effect. On another day, really hot day in the summer, water's all gone, trees have been soaking up infrared, and they radiate it back out again. And that's the image I was getting. So Earth energies is a bit tricky because it changes. You'll get different images. Another Earth energy. Yeah, that one was yay big. So it's a line running up beside of the track, and another one that was moving up cutting across it, hitting it, and I watched it moved up the track, and I thought, oh, will-o'-the-wisp. Because it was, yeah, only that big, and the energy lines were you know, that sort of size. So they come in all sorts of sizes from, you know, probably down to fractions of a millimetre and up to mile wide, some of them, odd ones. But you go out into the countryside and you find something like that, you know, water's underneath there. More than water, because that is the effect of the energy escaping, or the anomaly, or the hot spot causing the tree to twist. Another one going the other way. Then we go, yes, I'm not sure that I've got time to go into cymatics, so I think yeah. What do you think, sir?
I think draw close now, please, David. Could
Okay.
explain what you're doing tomorrow?
I'm here doing a workshop.
Okay.
Yes, what time am I doing a workshop, Richard?
9:30.
9:30. Yes, which room am I in? You want me to explain it? So I'm doing one at 9:30 and then another one at 12:30 or 11 o'clock or... Yes, so tomorrow is, I'm actually, anybody that comes in with me will be actually doing this. Right, so you'll be, I first try to get people to see their own energy and then the person next to them energy. So it's a bit of a share, but it's really best if it works that way, because seeing your own energy is one set of energy, but then if you look inside the person next to you, it's probably going to be a different, because everybody has these little hiccups we carry with them. Oh, my knee! You know. And then another person, if we have time. I won't be doing earth energy stuff, but it's actually looking at our own energies and what we can do about them.
Any questions, Dave? Any questions?
I was going to be silly again. Yeah, any questions, people? No? You all understood that perfectly then. And you can all now do that when you go home.
When did you first start viewing these energies, David?
In 2000, in the year, yeah, about
Was
20.
was there anything that brought it about? Can you explain where it came from? Have you any idea?
Middle of a martial art class, shut my eyes, try to feel what my opponent was going to be doing, in which way he was going to hit me, and it just kicked in and I saw his heart. That was it. That was the start of the slippery slope. And I had to revisit all that I thought I knew about everything, because it all just changed. Just in a split second.
Did you say your son can also view as you do?
He can, he doesn't anymore. He reached an age where his peer pressure kind of, he didn't want to be different. I excel at it. I didn't care, but he just didn't want to be considered to be different, so he kind of moved away from it. But he can still do it. Yeah.
And David, do you share the colours with other energy viewers? Do you share the same colours for the same situation?
Sorry?
Do you share when you and someone else looks at a certain situation? Do you share the same colour? Do you see the same colours for the same?
Oh, yeah. If I've got 3 or 4 people all looking in the same place, they would all see the same thing, the same colour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually the same shape as well. If it was just me that was seeing it, or just me and my son, I mean, there would be no point going around, blabbing about it. It would be a waste of everybody's time. But, I mean, I've taught 5-year-olds. 5-year-olds can do it in about 2 minutes flat, better than I can. They're really annoying.
Don't you have to be rather
careful you don't project a colour for them to see.
You're looking. Golden rule. You're not trying to imagine or create, or you just want to look. Anything else is, what's the point? Yeah, you can. You know, this kind of where you do that and you get a feeling of energy there. Yeah. Well, you can do that and put it into people. If you really want to get that amplified, you go, let that resonance rattle out through your hands, and that ball of energy is then sound. And you can really feel it, and then you put that into someone's head and they go, oh, but it's, just make sure it's electric blue or blue. Because if you're making a nasty orange, you can give people headaches. And you can, I mean, everything balanced, isn't it? There's a good and bad to everything, yin and a yang, or yes, it's that powerful that you can do damage with it, but really it's a healing tool. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for your patience.